We're going to talk about my rip and rant now, which is the New York Jets. And,
oh boy.
And I'm not going to blow my top. I'm not at that level yet. It's week 4. And I have this theory now that the one last preseason week 1 in the NFL, I don't even get mixed up with that. To me, that's just a rust off week. So we're through 4 weeks. Jets lost a tough one to Denver at home. That was probably one a lot of us had a W chalked up for. I thought the Patriots game on Thursday night would go the way yesterday's game went, where it was a tighter game, but the Jets maybe still win, and then they would have blown Denver out. Kind of went the other way around, where they had the really convincing, start to finish victory over the Patriots, and then Denver, obviously, Rodgers commented on the weather and it affecting his crappy throws. Then there's the issue of the cadence with the false starts and stuff like that. And what I'm starting to get worried about is, if this season is going to come off the rails, and as a Jet fan, you always have to look for the way it's going to come off the rails, can it not be over this Aaron Rodgers, Robert Saleh pissing contest alpha? I understand Robert Saleh. He's not a coach that Rodgers is necessarily going to respect. He's not an Andy Reid. He's not a Bill Belichick. I get that. But on both sides, maybe Robert Saleh, maybe just hands off the offense a little more and let the future first ballot Hall of Famer, multi-time MVP do what he's got to do. Keep your hands off a little bit. And Aaron, can you just show a little bit of deference and respect for Robert Saleh, even if it's just for the cameras, so we don't have this bullshit storyline of the quarterback versus the coach, and somehow that derails the season. Because right now the defense looks really good. The offense. Listen, yesterday was not good. Let's see what happens in, London against the Vikings this week, who are all of a sudden 4-0. Who the hell had that on their bingo card? This could be a good season. The Tua injury has taken one of those teams out of the running for the AFC. So now it's you in Buffalo. Can we just keep it on the field and just try and keep the focus on the field, and whether you respect Saleh or not, just let it go to the end of the year.
Yeah, that Monday night game in Buffalo in 2 weeks is going to be a huge game between the Bills and the Jets, and probably will be an indicator of which team winds up winning the division. I still think it's going to be Buffalo, even though they spectacularly crapped the bed last night. I got a lot of thoughts on this game. First of all, you mentioned the weather, and even though Rodgers has plenty of experience playing in the elements, I mean, those were just gross conditions yesterday at MetLife Stadium with the rain and the wind, and it wasn't even so much like a heavy rain. It's more like that misty kind of. I mean, if you lived in New York, you've certainly been through enough of those sort of days in the fall. So
ever-present mist.
Yeah, that the ever-present mist with the wind swirling in the Meadowlands. If you've ever been to Giants Stadium or MetLife Stadium, you know exactly what we're talking about with that. So that's one thing. Number two, I guess shout out to Sean Payton for the Nathaniel Hackett double revenge game after the Jets took part 1 last year. I guess Denver gets the final say this year in that respect. So look, I mean, the issue with the Jets is one of the issues we've seen with the Jets the last few years. The team it's undisciplined. They commit 1 million penalties every week. They committed 1 million penalties last year. And I know a lot of that will have to do with the offensive line, the cadence, but when you're giving up 10 penalties a game and you keep shooting yourself in the foot, what do you expect to happen? And Rodgers is obviously trying to do what he is to play through it, but the Jets are showing why you can't trust the Jets, I guess is the best way of putting it. But between that and Breece Hall doing nothing yesterday, and Rodgers was just kind of pedestrian. He kept missing Garrett Wilson on almost every throw, and the lack of chemistry there is alarming. It seems like the only receiver he really has chemistry with is Allen Lazard, which interestingly enough, Allen Lazard was left for dead last year when Rodgers was out, and now Allen Lazard's probably a top 30 receiver in the league again now that Rodgers is back. So go figure, now that he has his safety blanket back there. And you mentioned pulling up the Jets schedule. I'm looking at it right now. Home again. I say home. Neutral site against the Vikings. Home against the Bills on that Monday night. At Pittsburgh. I mean, it's a rough schedule. They have a game in New England sandwiched in there, but then they have Houston, Arizona, Indianapolis. Seattle's going to be a tough game. They still have the Dolphins twice, but the Dolphins might have Tua back by then, so you never know. They have the Rams. So it's not an easy schedule, and I've never really bought the Jets as a playoff contender. Like, to me, this has the makings of the Jets 8-9, 9-8. Maybe they get in as a 7th seed in the playoffs, but like they're not legitimate title contenders, in my opinion.
No, I mean, when you look at the remaining schedule, games you would potentially call easy would be the Patriots and the Cardinals, and both of those are road games. Jacksonville showed some life last night, but we'll see what's going on by December 15th. It's again,
and I wouldn't call the Cardinals easy. Like Kyler Murray can make plays. Like I know that'll be interesting with that matchup, like them against their defense, and we'll get to that game when that comes up in the schedule. But like I wouldn't consider that a pushover game. Just like I wouldn't consider like Jacksonville a pushover game, even though Jacksonville's playing about as poorly as anybody right now.
I'm not stark raving mad right now because they lost to the Broncos, not because the Broncos came out and blew the doors off the Jets. The Jets just couldn't get out of their own way, and Denver was just good enough to win. So right. I'm not like stark raving mad about that. That's a game you might wish you had back if you make the playoffs and there's a tiebreaker scenario where now you're on the road instead of being home or division or whatever the case may be. But just, go to London, have some fish and chips, beat the Vikings. It's a Sam Darnold revenge game factor here too. Like that's not going to help. If Sam Darnold comes out and beats the Jets, now you're going to start having problems with the Cubs. Now it's going to be rough. And it's, like if the Vikings win, but it can't be because Sam Darnold went out and gunslung and threw, went 20 of 30 for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like that can't happen.
Do we call yesterday a Zach Wilson revenge game or not really?
No, because he didn't really.
Anything.
Zach Wilson's revenge game is going to come next year or the following year on some to be determined team. Like it's coming. Like it's going to happen.
When Zach Wilson's like quarterbacking the Titans and they come to town.
Correct. It's going to be like one of those random scenarios and like, here it is. And he does it. Like, that's what's going to happen. Let's get to some football cards before I do get stark raving mad.
I'm sorry, man. I'm not trying to get your blood boiling on a Monday.
Well, here's the thing. Like, you have all those Sam Darnold cards like that we like pulled or mystery
slabs. Oh, yeah.
They might be coming back to life here.